That's funny. Hey everybody, my name is David McIntosh. I'm the Director of Marketing and Communications for Tastemakers LLC, the parent company of Arcade1UP. We're here with Glen's Retro Show, and let's go behind the scenes.
Game on.
Okay everybody, well, I'm away to the train station. One train going by now. I'm away to go down to New York City to meet with the Arcade1UP group today. And well, talk to you guys as we make this journey today. Okay, so we're on an early morning train down to New York City. Next stop for me is down in Grand Central, New York. Then from there, we're going to meet David over at Tastemakers at their headquarters in New York City. And well, it's a very cloudy day today. Hopefully I don't get rained on. It's actually 8 blocks total to get from Grand Central to Tastemakers corporate office. But well, let's see how the day goes.
Watch your step when the train is
Okay, so we're here now in New York City at Grand Central Station, and just a few blocks away from going to the Arcade1UP corporate office. So it doesn't look like it's raining outside, so it looks like we'll get started on that now. Let's go.
Oh, can I be in your vlog? Hi. Yes, Retro Show?
Yes.
What's up, guys?
Excellent. Let's take it.
I'll take it.
Nothing like stopping over at the UN building. Probably one of the most important places in the world. Right here. A lot of school kids here look like they're having a little field trip day at the UN. So not too bad a day out here. I mean, it's kind of a little misty, a little drizzle. You know, got the old umbrella here. Walking by the UN building. I mean, New York has got so many different things here. But most importantly, for me, Arcade1UP's corporate office is in New York City. So just a little short ride for me, about 45, 50 minutes to come down. And, you know, to see some other sites while I'm down here. I mean, New York has got a little bit of everything. Well, I did a check for you guys. There's no turtles down there. Maybe another cover. I'll keep looking. Okay, walking past another area, and I think I see some pizza being cooked. Let me see here. Maybe they're down in that one. Well, I'll have to check with them later. I got an appointment I got to keep. Okay, so I've arrived at Tastemakers headquarters here in New York City. I'm about to go inside and talk to the guys, so let's go in.
Hey everybody, welcome to Glen Retro Show hosted by David McIntosh. We're here behind the scenes on an Arcade1UP photo shoot / commercial, and want to give you the background and show a little love to the community and Glen himself for all the support he's been doing so far.
And I really thank you very much for taking time out of your day to allow me to come down here. So right now I am down in New York City on the headquarters for Tastemakers, again to talk about Arcade1UP. And we'll get a little bit of a tour a little bit later. But first of all, I want to talk to you a minute, if I can, about Arcade1UP. It's been about a year, right? That's your initial launch. And you had an initial launch of a few titles. You had your Asteroids, Centipede. What else did we have during the initial launch?
We had Rampage, Street Fighter, Pac-Man, and Galaga. Those were 6.
4. And it came out to the market, and people like me, of course, I couldn't get enough of them. There were some issues during the initial launch, but I will put a link down below to an interview I had with Scott, who told me back then, I think it was like February, we had to talk, that he's been listening to the community, which is something I personally want to thank them for. A lot of these companies really don't listen, let alone engage with the community like they do. And he told us he was making some improvements. And recently, we've had the release of the Marvel Cab, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and Star Wars. And I have to say the feedback from the community has been really, really good. So can you tell us a little bit how that kind of went about?
Yeah, so as you mentioned, Arcade1UP launched in 2018. Around this time, so it's almost been a full fiscal year since we arrived on store shelves. A bit later, about 20 days ago, we arrived on retail, and since then we've started taking polls, we started listening to the community, and the 3 most sought after titles were the ones you just listed: Turtles, Star Wars, and Marvel. And we immediately started seeking out the rights and the licensing rights to manufacture these titles, and wanted to make sure we were able to deliver them. So the process itself is a bit arduous, but we have a great licensing team, 2 people who are very good at their job. And in addition, Scott's also very hands-on, so he also gets involved with some of our existing license partnerships as well as all the future ones. He's a great salesman, and he's really good at getting what he wants in that aspect. So we listened to the community, we heard what they wanted, and we went out and delivered it. So Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Walmart exclusive right now. It's a launch exclusive, meaning that in a couple months, if you want to get it from a different retailer, you may. Star Wars, I believe it's GameStop, as well as other retailers. And Marvel is, we have 3 various versions. We have the consumer edition for $2.99 for the everyday consumer who may not want to drop, $3.99 or whatever that may be. And then I believe it's about $3.50 with a riser or matching branded riser, and then $3.99 for the special edition, which has all the fancy,
right. And actually, that's a lot of people talk about that as well. It's actually a very good deal when you consider purchasing the main machine and purchasing a riser, electric key. You got to get that outside the fact. So having those bundled in, it's a savings, and again, it's what people wanted. So that's really a good thing. Mm-hmm. So with that going forward, we're going to see more of these special edition type of machines coming out in the future.
Definitely, yeah. So we're working, you asked this question off the record, so I'm happy to bring some light onto that. The everyday consumer machines may be more entry level, so people who are just looking to play the game in the arcade format can. And then people who are looking for the special edition, it'll likely be done through our e-commerce, Arcade1UP.com, directly through us. So we don't have to put any pressure on retailers for that higher risk items per se, and we'll take that risk ourselves just because we want to be able to deliver what the community's asking for.
Right, and as far as the retails go, like Walmart, Target, GameStop, from what I'm seeing, because I know there was a time where people were saying about this, with the initial product launch issues, that they're not going to continue with you guys. But to me, it looks like the exact opposite. I walk to my Walmart and I see a wall of the machines there. So has the strength of your relationship with these companies improved? Has anything changed as far as that goes? Do they give you more floor space? How's that working out?
Certainly. So anybody who's carried us has seen the power of this machine and the power of our community and consumers. So selling out at Walmart various times through our launch period was a great indicator on the success on where it would go. And since we have been allocated additional square footage in feet, so we're getting longer aisle space now, and we're also getting more shelf space at other retailers as well. It's really easy to say once you've sold out at major retailers how well they can do, and the proof's in the pudding in the fact where when we start to go to the retailers and show them the new titles, like the 3 we just launched, and the support behind them, we can just screen grab the community, the poll results, and almost guarantee the sale right there. So it's we've definitely built and strengthened our relationship with the retailers, and you'll see that a lot in 2020 as well.
Now, with that being said, I mean, did you guys even think or envision that people would be buying as many as they do? Generally, again, in the forums, in case, a little plug here, the official Arcade1UP fan page on Facebook, Generally, the people there, if they even have one, they sneak a second one into the wife doesn't see it, and before you know it, like I have 11 myself right now, and I'm not even the highest end. I have people who have even more.
Mm-hmm.
Did you guys even envision people buying that many machines for their homes?
No. We didn't envision that there was such a passionate community either, right? So sometimes when it comes to news announcements, we will have a plan, but like the community can beat us to the punch in certain circumstances, just because they're so passionate. And it goes both ways for both positive and negative things. But at first, when we launched, the #1 accessory for an arcade machine was the riser. There was a very high retention rate for somebody who bought the arcade machine and now wanted the riser. But what's funny now is that the #1 accessory for an arcade machine, an Arcade1UP arcade machine, is another Arcade1UP arcade machine. Meaning that if I bought one, I want another one to go beside it so I can have that at-home arcade experience. And it truly blew our mind, and we did not see that happening.
Right, and that you just touched on something we talked about earlier, was that I think one of the key factors to the Arcade1UP lineage, or the way people want them, is when I was a kid, I grew up in the 70s. I'm 50 years old. I remember walking in like 77, 78 into a pizzeria, and you had Pong, you had Space Invaders, and you had Asteroids. It was that whole experience about just walking and seeing all these monitors and the marquees lit up and seeing all the different type of games. And I think that's really where you guys have hit even more so, that experience. To go out and again, I know there's diehard arcade guys out there, trust me, I hear it all the time, who say, I have a real machine, I got a real this, and I have a Zaxxon, I do, and I love that machine. However, I don't want to have a row of 12 arcade-sized arcade machines. If I need to move them, if I need to do any work on them, it's too much of a pain. The Arcade1UPs, I can have, and I do, a line up a wall of these machines, have that experience I had as a kid, and bring my friends over to play all these different games as well. And I think that's something that the community's really got a grip on. I can go out and buy Mortal Kombat, I can buy Space Invaders, I can buy Centipede, bring them home. The wife won't kill me as much as if I went and bought $20,000 worth of machines that I got for maybe $2,000 as a whole. And that brings up another thing you talked about as well, is you guys do listen to the community. You guys are in the trenches all the time.
Definitely.
So what is like the biggest takeaway you've taken just from feedback from being in the forums and listening to the community? What have you guys taken from it?
Well, the #1 thing I'd say I've listened to and tried to make action happen on was our customer service team. Myself and Scott and the rest of our team, we've really put our heads together on how we can enhance this experience, because there's not a lot of business models we can look at as a success, something that we can learn from and take away from. So we're pretty much starting from scratch in the fact that arcade machines in a consumer mass market truly does not exist right now in the format that we have it in, and the community that we have behind us as well. So it's two beasts that we're tackling at once. And what we've done, we've tried multiple different things with multiple different partners. We've done in-house, outsourced a lot of agencies that specialize in customer service, and nothing seemed to be working. And right now we've cleared the backlog that we were experiencing. There was a bit of overlap where there was delay windows that you may have heard, but right now we've really hunkered down and we brought in the support we need, and we're seeing from the numbers that we are clearing the backlog. So for me, the #1 thing is customer service, because if you don't service your consumers, why would they ever buy from you again, right? They're the most important thing. They're the key to our success. They have been fundamental to our success in our launch to date. So we want to make sure we take care of them if they have any issues, which is why myself and Scott personally are responding to people to show that we do care. And there may be some hiccups along the way, but that is something that we have put a lot of money and mind power behind, and something we are truly trying to get right.
And people have to understand, this is a business, and there's lots of money into making these things. So there's always going to be a cap on what they can put in these machines. A lot of people want the better joysticks, and those special editions kind of cater to that. But there's always going to be a limit, because this is basically a home consumer grade product. It's not a arcade in a mall. So it's going to be built differently. And when you take that into account, these machines I think are phenomenal for what they are. I want to switch gears. You probably can't answer this too much, but I'm going to ask it anyway. You guys obviously talk with Atari and Taito and Namco, these companies you're dealing with to get licenses. Are you talk to any other companies outside of them, or if any of those companies actually come to you guys saying, hey, you guys want to build a machine for us for our lobby or something? I don't know.
Definitely. So when we first started, we had to knock on doors and convince people that this was going to be a great idea. And once we had a few people on board, we were actually going after Capcom, and John D actually, he came,
Nice.
he joined Tastemakers from Capcom. He was great on both sides of the spectrum, but at first he's like, I don't know if this is the right idea, like I don't know if this is going to work. And once we showed him, once he saw it in person, he was sold. He was completely sold. And the whole thing is, it's the same with consumers, it's the same with licensors, it's the same with retailers. Once you see it, you believe in it, or at least you can enjoy it or respect it for what it is. So when we first started, we were knocking on doors for license holders to get the rights to manufacture, which is what you need to make them. And then from there, and our success in 2018, we now have people lining up, knocking on our door saying, hey, please revive our brands. Please bring these back. Please bring these games back. So it's gone a full 360, similar to that of retailers and to influencers and media. Before, it was quite difficult to convince people that this was going to be a great hit. And I mean, I don't know if you saw the press from 2018, but it was phenomenal. And it wasn't that, you know, people were lining up to talk about the product. It was that once we put it in front of them, they fell in love and they realized they could relive their childhood. We were just in the Wall Street Journal last week. We were in New York Times in our launch. We were, you know, Fox, CNET, all the top tier media outlets. They truly now believe in it, and they're talking to us every single day now about what's coming up or coming down the pipeline next. So it's from licenses. I can't disclose which ones we're currently talking about, but to let you know that people are now coming to us.
That's key. That's what I'm talking about. So
yeah.
You guys have now gotten to the point where you would not have to knock on anyone else's door. Some people are beating a path to your doors.
That's right, and they're now saying, hey, look, like if they're offering you this, we'll offer you this, or you know what I mean. And I'm sure you saw our Atari release now about exclusivity in our category. So it's very important to know that not only are these people coming to us for licenses and to manufacture their older arcade versions of the game, but also that they've seen so much success in what we've done and the quality that we've delivered it in, that they don't want anybody else to do it but us, and that they're willing to sign over exclusive rights. Atari being a great example for our category.
So the beautiful thing about this statement is that we will be getting more and newer and a variety of other machines coming down the pipeline.
Certainly.
Now, I know you're starting to do also the cocktail machines. I've always loved those machines. So will you be re-releasing, like I know you're doing the Pac-Man right now, you'd be re-releasing other machines in that form factor, or right now it's too early to tell you, it's really just starting out with that?
Well, we're definitely looking at it, and it's based off of consumer demand as well as if we believe it'll sell. Like John D, again, for reference, he is a fountain of knowledge for these games. There's a lot of people who are very knowledgeable about certain aspects of retro video games, but when it comes to game titles and the demand for those titles, he really has a good finger on the pulse for those things. So if he thinks, the rest of our team thinks, Scott as well, thinks that we can make a lot of units or make some success from said units, then they're likely to see the light of day. Like Director D from our community has been talking about the Taito cabinet that we showed off from Japan. And it's a great form factor, it's unique, it's designed differently, and if it does well over there, there's no reason why we wouldn't do it over here. So, you know.
Well, like the Space Bears initially was just for that market, was it not? Initially.
Yeah,
I'm so glad it came here. It's my favorite game, by the way.
I'm not sure if it was exclusive to that market.
But the initial launch for it was?
I'm actually not 100% sure, if I'm being honest. My main focus is on the North American market.
Thank you for that. And my phone, sorry about that. My phone, I lowered the volume. The phone is still going off.
Yeah, we're gonna put that on silent. We'll
I'll make something on that. I don't know. So now you've been with Arcade1UP pretty much since the beginning, and the parent company is actually Tastemakers.
Yeah.
That's where Scott came from. So can you tell me anything about the parent company? I mean, this is not the sole thing that you guys are doing.
That's right. So we'll have a lot of crazy announcements at CES, both for Arcade1UP and Tastemakers. Tastemakers is the parent company. Scott's had the company Tastemakers itself for a couple of years now. They were making plush toys, they were making action figures, they were making like dolls and stuff, all licensed. Licensed novelty is Scott's expertise. Pardon me. And he's been in the toy business for, I think, over 20 years now. I think maybe close to 30, if I'm being honest. So lots of experience in consumer toys, consumer products. and consumer electronics in certain cases. But where he saw the trend going was that the toy space was closing, and Toys R Us being a great example of that. So the toy space is getting smaller, but the gaming industry is continuously expanding at an exponential rate. So for him, it wasn't just about surviving in a smaller market, it was about thriving in an expanding market, which is why Tastemakers has put so much effort and focus behind Arcade1UP. So, you know, hopefully we'll see you at CES, but if you don't plan on going, we will send you all the information and you can break the news to our community on what's coming up then.
And that's a big key thing too, is the marketing aspect of it, getting the word out. And that's kind of where that's kind of your forte.
That's right.
So how have you found, number one, doing that, getting the word out, and a follow-up question to that, how has it been received?
So two-pronged question, how do I find marketing the product? And at first, it was almost a buckshot in the sense that we're just shooting at this massive net of information across a bunch of different demographics and geolocations, just to understand the market, who's interested, who's buying, who is interested that is buying, who's interested that isn't buying. You know what I mean? So you get a lot of information from online marketing, digital buying, and we use that and then tailored it into our future planning, knowing that it's not a buckshot, it's more of a shell shot in the fact that it's way more precise than we thought. Certain titles skew specifically to certain demographics, both in age, in interest, in geolocation, and we have all that information. So when we launch a product, we know who it appeals to, generally speaking, based off of statistics that we now have. Similarly with press outlets, when we're working with you, for example, we know the hardcore community follows you. So we know specific keywords, key terms, and titles that will play well in that audience, and similarly with top tier outlets. So it was at first a learning experience for us being new to this space, but now we have it honed down to the specifics of almost their postal code and what their interests are, down to their Facebook likes and stuff like that. So it's a little creepy how much information you can get from the web, but it's very useful for us because it allows us to understand our consumer and what they're looking for, as well as what they're interested in.
And also, you mentioned before, you have a place out in China that does the manufacturing aspect of it, but your design team is here.
That's right.
Right here in the States. So it's guys who basically grew up with these machines as well, and kind of know that part of the experience is that tactile feeling with the machines, looking at the machine, the silhouette, the graphics, and that's another thing that you guys really focus on. It's not just getting the license, but it's also to make a cabinet have that nostalgic look to it as well.
That's right.
So when you guys were doing these, like what do you think your demographic mostly is? Do you guys have an idea? Is it old men like me or the 50-year-olds? Or is it more the younger age? Who's really going for these machines?
Well, without giving out our secret sauce here, we know for a fact that the gaming community stands behind us. Now, they're also vocal about what they disagree with our product, but that's fair. If it's constructive criticism, we'll take it and we'll apply it to our subsequent product. If they're just complaining, that's not helping anybody grow. But the general consumer, it's kind of skewed two ways. We have the gamers, and then we have the average consumers, and we don't, prioritize either. But as you mentioned, as we talked about offline with the different titles and the different SKUs, certain titles play well for certain generations. So when we launch, we make sure that we have certain titles tailored to one demographic. Marvel superheroes more so for ours, and maybe Star Wars as well. And Tmnt is more of a broader focus for the everyday consumers, where kids can walk up and play it. I grew up in the '90s, so Tmnt was my game. I loved it. And I actually played a lot of it on the console with my family and my sister, and that was actually one of the only times we got along was when we were playing Tmnt. So for me, it has a nostalgic value, but it's also it appeals more to me more so than the other games from the '80s and 70s, late '70s.
So in talking about that, Tmnt is a very well multi-generation type of game. And being so, there were some initial complaints about the sound and stuff like that. Some of the songs were different, but that was outside your control. That was because Nickelodeon, I think, owns them now, right? And there was some things you had to concede, I guess, in order to get the license from them.
Yeah, this would be a great question for John D. But we discussed this offline, and he was saying that, you know, the original rights are no longer owned by either Konami or Nickelodeon.
And you have to be bound by who owns it now.
Yes, exactly.
Even though the arcade machine had certain sounds,
yeah.
the owner of Konami at the time doesn't have it. It's now Nickelodeon, so you have to have both.
It may be Nickelodeon, it may be Konami, but or it could be the guy who wrote the song, right? So it's about, all I know, and what John had advised me on was that who we worked with didn't have the rights. They provided us with audio that they did have the rights to that was licensor approved. So we didn't go and record the new theme song in our garage using GarageBand on my MacBook. You know what I mean? That was audio.
That wasn't too bad though.
The audio was provided to us by the license holders, right. So it's still licensor approved. It's still a version that they've used in the past. It's just not like it's not the original version, as you pointed out.
Right. So there's certain things out of your control you have to follow with a license holder. Right. That's what it comes down to. So a lot of people ask me why did they do that. They didn't. It was the way the license had to go, and that's the way it had to come out.
Yeah, I mean, we could have stalled out the title for a couple more years and maybe tracked it down or paid X amount of dollars to acquire, but then the price point could have gotten up, the time frame would have been probably 2022, and so if our community wanted this product, that's, you know, how we had to deliver it. And given the time frame and when we wanted to have it in market, this was the best option to do it. I mean, the gameplay's original arcade coding, the audio is the only thing that has shifted.
Right, and it's not bad. People listen to it, they're okay with it. But I just want people to know, because I get asked that so many times, it wasn't Arcade1UP's decision. To get the machine, they had to follow the license holder, and that's basically how it turned out.
Exactly, and it's not even just the audio for the game, it's literally just the theme song that changed. But I understand, I understand that the community feedback is important, and I'm telling you right now, that has already impacted the decision making for future titles. There's a product that we were thinking about. You may have seen some prototypes, but because we're not going to discuss it on camera or in the community.
But I have seen things, but I can't say anything. Sorry, guys.
Well, you know, welcome to the office. That's the thing, right? That's the price to pay to bring you in. But
they took my fingerprint. I left a blood sample,
yeah.
And so I got to be good.
Yeah. So anyways, it has already impacted based off community feedback for that small audio change future decisions and future titles. Just so you guys know your voices were heard, and we won't be cutting any corners. We won't be settling for anything but the original. Hopefully, don't hold my feet to the fire. There may be certain circumstances where we have to compromise, but there is a title that I'm telling you right now just got pushed out of our time frame for the next couple months, just because for that exact reason with the audio. And
another machine that was very well received is the new Star Wars cabinet. Now, I myself had not seen the machine until I came in here today. It's well known that I'm working on a yoke myself for the Star Wars cabinet, but I sat down with that machine, and that machine really did blow me away. I mean, I sat down, it's a beautiful looking machine. The yoke is very well designed. It felt great in the hands. Again, I just tried it for the first time today, and so again, that was based, I assume, partially on feedback to make a better machine, one that paid really good homage to Atari's and George Lucas's vision of that game, and you've added a lot of features to it as well. I mean, I know Cool Toy, and Retro Ralph, Willie over Arcade1UP, a lot of other YouTubers out there have got the machine and they play with it and toy with it, and I'm going to tell you right now, they're right. I sat down, the screen looked great. The artwork was great, the light-up marquee was beautiful, the artwork on the riser, but the yoke, my big thing with what I've been doing is the controls. You interface to that game, it's like there's your eye to the soul, your eyes are windows to the soul. Those controls, you interface into that game, and that yoke felt great. I thought it really, really did. So I take my hat off for that. So, based on that, are we now going forward seeing like that kind of meticulous to detail in your machines going forward? Of course, yeah. So when we launched, you were right. We didn't really know who the right necessarily demographic was, but it wasn't just that. Like our initial appeal was to the mass crowds who just wanted a low entry price point for an arcade machine. As you can see, our price point has slightly gone up, but the quality has certainly gone up as well to match it. So people are willing to pay for better units,
And so long as that's the case, we're happy to make the enhancements that you've seen with Star Wars, with Marvel, Special Edition, and with Turtles, right? So we're always happy to put the quality where we can. As long as the demand's there for that, we're happy to fulfill it.
Right. So, and again, the community said that for ages, that they'll pay a little bit more money for increasing quality, and I think they definitely got that with all these new later machines. But the price has to reflect that a little bit. I mean, you can't build those kind of machines for the price point. Again, I had my hands on it, and it felt really good. So I wouldn't mind paying the additional money for, but you're also getting more too. You get that one comes with the riser, it comes with the Arcade, as well as paying. I assume Atari and George Lucas has got it behind his pocket. You know, the $4 billion he got from Disney was not enough. So, is there anything else you want to tell the community itself that we have here right now?
Well, please continue your support. We're always open to constructive criticism. If you guys have any issues or concerns or suggestions, we're open to it. Thank you again for building the foundation that has led to the success of Arcade1UP. And look, whatever you guys want, we want to help make it happen. We're open to suggestions. Glenn and I were talking about it off the record, becoming part of a beta testing program where he can help, prepare some of our units for the community, letting us know if it meets the standards that we were just talking about as far as controls and gameplay and aesthetic goes. So whatever you guys are open to and suggestion-wise, provide for us, we're happy to receive it.
So a lot of those people saying, I want this game, I want this game, you guys are at least looking at it and seeing if it's possible.
Definitely. Yeah, anything, like, we always, when we read the comments, like, we are in the trenches. You see me commenting, you see Scott commenting, and
which I want to add, that is so rare. That is so rare to have someone at your level, and more so Scott level. He's the CEO of the company. He's in the trenches answering questions. I don't know anyone else who does that.
Right. If you look at competitors, if you look at other brands, it's not the CMO and the director of marketing that are going in there. Sorry, CEO and the director of marketing that are going in there and answering those questions. That's very uncommon, especially for a company that has grown to the scale that this has in such a short time frame. And I know that doesn't sound very modest to say, but what I'm trying to get at is just the fact that I know for a fact Scott is so busy sometimes that I can't even get a hold of him.
I can attest.
But then I go on the fan community and there he is typing away on, he'll have his iPad in front of him taking a business call in Hong Kong and he'll be answering people on the internet. So I'm telling you right now, his dedication and passion for this brand, I do want to make that noted. Because
and John and Scott spend a lot of time actually in China. I mean, they're flying back and forth for, I assume, checking the quality, checking out the product. There's no other reason to go out that way unless he's making sure that stuff is going to be the best it can be.
Definitely. Yeah, he's always on the road traveling to retailers, to our manufacturers overseas to ensure that the quality, the time frame, and the delivery of the units are held to the high standard that we are striving towards.
Well, I thank you very much, David, for giving some time today. I really appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you so much for coming by the office. You're welcome anytime. I'm happy to game out sometime as well.
Awesome.
Get a little bend in your knees, Ethan, like a little bend, so you're like a little shorter, but not. Yeah, that's great.
You want me to like lean into it a little bit more too?
I'll tell you in a second. No, so Mark should be leaning in more than you. You're more upright. He's leaning in.
Now it's the fun of getting back to the train station. Gotta love New York.
Tiny Arcade fan page. Remember, don't admire people too much. They'll disappoint you.
Sit, Blue Blue, sit. Good dog.